Hello, it's Davy Mooney coming to you from the University of North Texas where I run the jazz guitar program. Benedetto artist, Sunnyside Records artist. Here's my Sunnyside discography up here. Live at National Sawdust, Benign Strangers, Hope of Home, Perrier Street. Hopefully there'll be a new one soon. My improv book, Personalizing Jazz Vocabulary from Mel Bay. And there definitely will be a new Mel Bay book coming out soon this year. Into the Labyrinth, an Anatomy of Position Playing for Jazz Guitar. And I've been thinking about the tune Come Rain or Come Shine. I want to talk about that today. Harold Arlen song from mid-40s. I guess it was in a musical with Johnny Mercer lyrics. And it's kind of one of those uber standards in that everybody recorded this song. Every major vocalist has a version. Bill Evans' Portrait in Jazz opens up with a heavily reharmonized Come Rain or Come Shine. I don't know if you'd want to learn the song from those changes, beautiful as they are. Everybody. Ray Charles in the late 50s, that's a real definitive vocal version. Wes Montgomery on Full House with Johnny Griffin and Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, Jimmy Cobb. And it's one of those tunes where I don't know that these days it's as played as much as, say, it's not a jam session tune necessarily along the lines of Stella by Starlight or All the Things You Are or I'll Remember April or anything like that. It's definitely one of those tunes that's going to come up, and it's kind of complex. Maybe that's why. And it's definitely one of the like just about every tune where there's a lot of variation on the chord changes in certain spots. So I'm going to go through it in the key of F and try to keep it, I guess, as simple as I can while making some reference to the more complicated versions of the tune. I recorded this in early 2000s with the band The Hot Club of New Orleans, great Django Reinhardt-inspired group who are still kicking, I believe, down in New Orleans. But our first CD that we did, I did 2 CDs with them. We did a version of this, and I actually arranged some, wasn't strings, right? It was violins and clarinets behind my guitar solo when I was like 21 or 22, if anybody wants to probably find that somewhere out there. But basically, we did it in D flat for the vocalist, and that kind of messed me up for a while because it's a tricky tune to transpose. I don't know if it's kind of almost like Stella by Starlight level trickiness to move to different keys, but I think most people do it in F. Wes Montgomery's in E flat, but Bill Evans is in F, Coltrane is in F, Ray Charles is in A flat, but F it's going to be, I believe the Jazz Messengers are in F as well. So you got an F major chord, I'm gonna love you, then like a 2-5 to the relative minor to D minor, come rain or come shine, then G7 high as a mountain, C7 deep as a river, F major, rain or come shine. It's the first 8 bars. Going into the second 8 bars, you've got a 2-5 to 4, but then it goes 4 minor, B flat minor 6, say. Yes, when I F minor, and back to the minor 1, which is kind of interesting. B flat minor, and I think most people here would kind of do like a walk down to a G minor 7, or G minor 7 flat 5 to C7. Excuse me, nose is itching. We'll talk about some variations in a second, but let's start with that. So the second 8 bars, B flat minor 6, F minor, B flat minor, G minor 7 flat 5, C7. Then there's a cycle of sort of minor 2-5s here that reminds me a little bit of, it happens in multiple tunes, but this tune has a little bit of Isfahan in it, or maybe vice versa, although in a different key. So after that G minor 7 flat 5 C7, we have B minor 7 flat 5 D7, never bet me, A minor 7 flat 5 D7. And then there's a ton of variation about what happens next here, but I'm just going to go with a repeat of A minor 7 flat 5 because I'm going to stay true, D7, G minor or G7, C7, F. So that second 8 bars, B flat minor 6, F minor, B flat minor 6, little walk down, maybe A flat minor, G minor 7 flat 5, C7, B minor 7 flat 5, E7, A minor 7 flat 5, D7, same thing, G minor, C7, F. So many variations on that little section right there, but we'll call it like that for now. Then the A section kind of repeats. Love you, nobody's love you. Come rain rain will come shine. But instead of doing a 2-5 back to F, it goes B minor again to E7. Happy together, and won't it be fine, to A7 for 2 bars. Then there's a cycle of dominance, which again reminds me of that second half of Isfahan a little bit. D7, crowding on sunny. G7, running out of the money. Then like a little turnaround back to D minor. I love you always. B flat 7, rain to come shine. And that's basically the song. So that second half, one more time, F major, 2-5 to D minor. And then B minor, E7, A7 for 2 bars. D7 for 2 bars. Sometimes people go up a half step, side slip a little bit. G7 for a bar, almost 2 bars. And then a little turnaround back to D minor. B minor 7 flat 5, B flat 7, A7, D minor. And then back to the top. So that's the basic structure of it. And West Montgomery, they pretty much follow that in E flat, although I was talking to a student earlier today. It's kind of funny how, records from the sort of classic jazz records from the 50s and 60s and before, sometimes people play some weird, not everybody in the band is on the same page all the time on the chords. You can kind of tell what they meant to do sometimes you can't, because people just play wrong notes. And it's kind of funny how, the fidelity of the recording, I think, and the expectation of the people making the record and producing the record wasn't that, say a bass player playing some weird notes in a certain section of the tune. That wasn't like a deal breaker for the take. And, if you don't listen too closely, you can't really tell. It's like if you go back and hear Ruby My Dear studio version from Coltrane and Thelonious Monk, that's like some weird notes. But that's kind of what happens on Come Rain or Come Shine. But it's pretty close to what I just played in the key of E flat. I think when they get to the in the second half, that B minor, E7, A7 thing, they play B dominant 7, E7, A7. And I think that's what we did when we recorded it with the Hot Club of New Orleans. So I also want to talk a little bit about, so that was a lot of 2-5s, right? Minor 2-5s, dominance 2-5s, made regular 2-5s. And a lot of these tunes, when you get closer back to the way they were originally written and conceived and orchestrated, the 2-5-1 is not exactly, especially the minor 2-5-1, it was not really the coin of the realm as far as I can tell. You don't really encounter that in the same context that you do in modern jazz and soloing and up to the present day. So to talk about a little bit about the Ray Charles version, which is a more gospel influenced, sounds like Ray Charles. He's sort of a category of his own. So they play it in A flat, and I'll say maybe I can shift back and forth from A flat to F. We'll see. That shouldn't be too hard. But I just love how he starts off. Just the very first part, it's like A flat, and it's that nice. Then there's the fifth in the bass, and then instead of like a minor 2-5 to F minor, in that key, they go like E diminished to C7, or maybe C over E to C7. So you get this like, I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you. Then F minor. Come rain or come shine. Then this is the same 2-5. They kind of go right to A flat 7, and then this part's kind of interesting. He goes D flat minor, A flat minor, D flat minor in his key, and instead of walking down to a minor 7 flat 5, 2-5-1 thing, he just goes right to the dominant. So in the key of F, that would be as if we went B flat minor F, B flat minor C7, instead of, kind of functionally it's the same thing, and I'm going to try to do the rest of this what Ray Charles does in the key of F. So then after the 7, instead of going B minor 7 flat 5 E7, A minor 7 flat 5 D7, that thing we just talked about, from the C7 he goes to D minor, to an A minor. So instead of B minor 7 flat 5 E7, a D minor, which makes sense because the top, the upper structure of a B minor 7 flat 5 is a D minor. So okay, that makes sense. And then an A minor instead of A minor 7 flat 5. All right, isn't that different? And then the gonna stay true if you let me. He does a crazy sequence of dominants. It's basically, let's see if I can get it in this key. It would be, so if he goes, it would be, gonna stay true if you let me. So like, let's see, let's go. So B flat minor, F minor, and it's a slow tempo. It was just one of those things. Excuse my singing. So D minor, don't ever bet me. Cause I'm D7, D flat 7, C7, and I kind of heard an E minor 7 flat 5 or C with E in the bass, and then E flat 7, D7, D flat 7, C7, F. So you can see how that would be a little bit tricky to solo on, maybe in a modern jazz context. And so instead of all that business, we just have A minor 7 flat 5 to D7, G minor to C7 to F. Bill Evans does a similar thing, I think, in there, of just a whole crazy cycle of dominance. He goes through the entire cycle of fourths. And if you want to check out the Bill Evans changes, there's a cool video on YouTube that I just saw a little while ago that has the piano transcription with chord symbols on top of his recording from Portrait in Jazz, which I think is probably maybe his best record, in my opinion. That and Everybody Digs Bill Evans, or top of the heap for me with Bill Evans. But anyway, yeah, he does some stuff towards the end that's kind of complicated too. But one other thing with the Ray Charles version, so when he gets to the second half, again, let's see if I can convert this to key of F. So we got, I'm gonna love you, second half of the tune, like nobody's loved you, come rain or come shine. Then he goes, instead of going right to B minor 7 to E7, happy together, happy together, to A7, he skips the B minor and goes G7, happy together, then to an E7, unhappy together, then to A7. So again, a G7, B minor 7, flat 5, G7, D minor. It's all the same stuff up in the upper structure, It's kind of cool sounding. So, and then let's see, the next bar is the same. Read it out of the money. But I like how he does the end. They go back, instead of going to like D minor, when he gets to the I love you always part, he goes back to 1. I love you to G7, and then a 2-5 to the minor. But instead of minor, he goes like, it's like a D7 sharp 9. So that's so hip. So we have like, D7, G7, and then instead of going to D minor, F major, G7, B flat 7, A7, D7 sharp 9. So, some variation there. And I think if you went through, Coltrane's version on one of those Prestige records, I forget which one, has some variations in those spots. In terms of playing on it, again, there's not any real tricks I have, just following the changes, First 8 bars you're pretty cool, like 1, 2, 5 to relative minor, 2, 5 back to 1. And this part, sometimes when I'm playing, since you have that A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 repeated, I'll kind of like the second time through imply. So if I've gone B minor 7 flat 5 E7, A minor 7 flat 5 D7, I'll kind of go up to an E flat 7 D7 the second time. So maybe like, oh sorry, just to kind of break it up a little bit, so I'm not repeating A minor 7 flat 5, and then. dominance. You got some nice places to do some blues vocabulary. But I'll play a few choruses on it right now and try to explore this tune. So yeah, really beautiful standard, recorded by everybody, but there's some spots that are worth looking into and maybe checking out what different people have done. And yeah, Ray Charles, y'all. Portrait in Jazz. And let's see, what's the one called? Full House. Wow, I almost forgot that. Wes Montgomery, Johnny Griffin, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, Jimmy Cobb, one of the great guitar records. All right, hope you enjoy it.